Hey guys, Spud here, and today we have a one-on-one training lesson with one of my generous Patreon channel supporters. Mighty Oak here is relatively new to DCS World and had flown some of the other jets in the past, but really wanted to get up to speed flying the F-4E Phantom II, so he could participate as a double ugly pilot in both Cold War and modern era missions. And because his goal was really to get mission ready, we really tailored the training session towards that goal. The funny thing here that Oak wasn't expecting is we did this lesson in more of a public venue on my Discord server, and he ended up being brought through the basics of talking on the radio with ATC and AICs with not just myself, but a DCS community member who stopped by who specializes in the ATC controller role, along with a pretty sizable peanut gallery that gathered to learn from the lesson as well. The goal of these lessons is always to give the student the tools and knowledge to then be able to practice on their own while I'm not there, so that they can work on mastering the skills introduced in our lessons, and once they're feeling confident, we can circle back around for another lesson to introduce the next set of skills. I think you'll all agree that Mighty Oak here is well on his way to being ready to fly in his first complex and live DCS mission in the mighty F-4E Phantom II, and just has a few rough edges that need to be filed down and add to his knowledge of the weaponry the Double Ugly is able to carry. Please keep in mind, guys, that I do one-on-one training sessions as a perk for all of my patrons who donate $15 or more to support the channel. I know we've had fewer lesson videos as of late, and I'll try to get more of them out there for you guys, since I know a lot of you guys out there follow along with these lessons in your own jets for your own learning. Thanks guys, fly safe out there, and enjoy this beautiful game. Aim 7 Fs on there, so that way we can have some sparrows to defend ourselves if required. And for Station 5, we'll put another fuel tank, just to give us plenty of gas, as well as we can then talk about the way the fuel system works in the F4. Once you're good with that, hit OK, and the invisible ground crew will do their thing.
Copy.
I think we're good there. Okay.
Beautiful. So we'll just wait about 30 seconds here. And I think that Unsigned is in the server now, so he should be able to see where we are on the airfield. So basically I would call this, like, you know, in terms of our location, the central northern soft shelters, or maybe even the transient ramp at this airfield. Not quite sure. I don't have a airfield diagram in front of us, but we'll do the best we can on that. Oh shoot, let me double check my keybinds here. Oh, give me one second. Having a little bit of stick trouble lately. 1 second. F-4E joystick. Most recent one.
Okay.
Alright, that's good.
Yeah,
Modifiers. Perfect. My keybinds are almost set. There we are. Now we should be good. Yep, good to go. Okay, we are rearmed. So going through the cockpit, sometimes the way DCS has aircraft hot started for you, they can be a little bit wonky. So I'm just looking through the cockpit here, seeing if we need to change anything up. But so far it's looking good. Looks like our trim is about 2 units nose down, so that's good. Everything is looking good. Perfect. So one thing that will probably be a little bit confusing for you the first time you fly in one of my missions, and Unsigned, if you want to hop in here with anything on this, just jump on in, is a lot of times you'll be given, or your flight will be given, a squawk code for your transponder. Now, you can look it up on your own time, but basically transponders have different modes they work through, mode 1 through mode 4. And at different level, those are different levels of IFF communications for different systems, essentially, from ATC to making sure that friendly jets don't accidentally shoot you. And in mode 3, you can add in digits that will show up on a ATC controller's console to help identify exactly who you are at a moment's notice. Does that make sense?
That makes sense, yes.
Perfect. So usually, the way fighter jets will get a squawk code is one of two ways. If it is, say, a transient flight where we're just going to be flying in formation together from point A to point B to, say, deliver a jet somewhere or go on a weekend vacation after we've been assigned a couple jets, basically what will happen is the leader of the formation will have a squawk code and the wingman will turn his transponder off. So that way ATC will treat us both as one airplane flying together. Does that make sense?
That makes sense, yes.
Cool. But in a combat scenario where there could be jets all over the place, we could get scattered and pulled away from each other due to the combat aspect, the squawk code for the flight may be a row of sequential numbers. So that way, if they say, SHA-1 flight squawk 1611 sequential, I'll be 1611, you'll be 1612, our -3 will be 1613, 1614, and so on and so forth, for how many jets we have in our flight together. Is that making sense at all?
That makes sense, yeah. So it's almost like a shorthand.
Exactly, yeah. Basically think of it as a way for the ATC controllers to identify who we are quickly and easily. So
yeah.
We get this squawk code as part of a clearance, which is essentially, I'm just going to keep it very surface level here for you for your first lesson. Essentially, our clearance will be just where we're supposed to fly, coming off of the ground. Are we supposed to turn to a specific heading, climb to a specific altitude, our squawk code, things of that nature. We put our squawk code into our transponder in the F4. Just aft of the radio panel, you'll see a row of rollers that are labeled Mode 1 and Mode 3/A. Do you see those?
I've got them, yes.
Perfect. So you would pop your squawk code into Mode 3/A. So I'll pop in 1611, and you pop in 1612 for me.
(1612) set.
Perfect. And so now, when Unsigned looks at his radar scope in lot ATC, or in real life, a real life controller looking at their radar scope, they're going to see you as 1612 and me as 1611. Pretty cool, right?
Yeah, that's learned already.
Yeah, you're probably like, oh god, what did I get myself into?
No, this is why I wanted to do it, because it's not entirely straightforward.
Gotcha. So
it makes sense.
Yeah. So usually in my missions, unless our flight has been split apart into, say, 2 sections instead of a full division, usually your -1 is going to be making the radio calls. For practice, I'll have you make the radio calls with Unsigned here. So
okay.
Basically, we just want to throw who we are, our call sign, SHA-1, a flight of 2 F4s into that formula we talked about. So your radio call should sound something to the effect of, and it doesn't have to be perfect, Muafaq Salty ground, SHA-1, flight of 2 F4s at the central soft shelters, ready for taxi, and that should be all you need to do.
Okay. Shall I go for it?
Go for it.
Muafaq Salty, flight of 2 F-4Es at the central soft shelters, ready for taxi.
One flight 2 F4s, good morning. Taxi Alpha 1, hold short runway 31.
Cool. and then you just read back those same instructions back to him.
I apologize. I didn't catch that. Taxi Alpha 1.
Yep.
I apologize.
Yep, taxi Alpha 1, hold short 3-1. Basically, you just want to say that back to him.
The last bit I didn't hear. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. Go for it.
Shah 1, Moffat Salty, taxi Alpha 1, hold short runway.
Perfect. Close enough. But basically, if we have a controller who's being a real stickler for realism, he's then going to come back to you and yell at you for not saying runway 31. It's super important.
Runway 31, yeah.
Yeah, it's super important in those readbacks, if there is a runway number, to get that correct, because the worst thing that can happen on the ground is a runway incursion, where you accidentally taxi into a runway that you're not supposed to. So it's all about making sure everybody's on the same page between pilots and controllers. So that way, jets don't run into each other, jets don't land on top of each other, things of that nature. Make sense?
That makes perfect sense, yes.
Sweet. So the taxiway right out in front of us here is going to be Alpha, and we're going to make a left-hand turn on that taxiway following these yellow centerline markings. Then we're going to make a right-hand turn on Alpha 1, and then we're going to hold short of runway 31, which means hold and stop before you get onto the runway. Sound good?
Got you. That sounds perfect, yeah.
Cool. So I'll have you lead us on out, and we'll just begin our taxi.
Okay, I'll lead off.
Go for it. Big thing for DCS multiplayer is always taxi nice and slow, nice and easy. No need to rush.
Okay.
Uh-oh. And you see that yellow line kind of off to the right of your nose there?
Yes.
We want to make sure that we're following right on that line. So that
I'm with you.
Yep.
Yeah. I was trying to turn on to the road markings.
Yep. So don't want to do that, because that's where different service trucks and things like that are going to be driving. Now it's really, really easy to taxi too fast in the F4. So as you push that throttle up, once you start to roll, immediately start pulling back on the throttle again, back to idle. And your nose wheel is basically right between your knees in the cockpit of the F4. So if you keep that yellow center line right between your knees, you should be good to go. Just keep in mind that as we are taxiing in a fighter jet, we're not a beautiful, maneuverable, fast fighter jet. We're an unstoppable freight train. So when you're taxiing around other jets, just think of that nature of taxiing.
Oh boy, how? Yep, roger that.
Understood.
So off our right is Alpha 2 for the taxiway. We're just going to keep on coming down to Alpha 1. At most airfields, there's going to be a separate ground controller and a tower controller, and they're going to be on separate frequencies.
Yeah, I was gonna get you guys to imaginary change frequencies.
Yep, yep. We'll definitely do that. Now, at some airfields, there may be not enough controllers on duty. That could be, it's a small, not very busy airport. It could be staffing issues, maybe even battle damage to the military airport. And so the tower controller is going to fulfill both the ground and tower positions. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
So if that were the case, then the tower frequency would be controlling for everything. In our case here, we're pretending that there's a separate ground and tower frequency.
Okay.
And you can see on the taxiway sign up on our right there, we've got Alpha 1 off to the right-hand side.
I've got it.
Now, as you get onto Alpha 1, you're going to see a dotted yellow and black line that crosses the center line markings. That's going to be your hold short line and the line you don't want to cross. make sure you make that right-hand turn.
Yeah.
Perfect. Could be desync, but just technique-wise for taxiing in the F4, make sure you're holding down the nose wheel steering button before you start to move your rudder pedals.
Okay.
That will help you make a little bit more of a smooth turn while taxiing. You could have already been doing that, and just the jerkiness with desync, I was just making sure. So, I know that you said you wanted to fly realistically, so this next small piece of etiquette is very much a realism thing. It's not going to make a difference in DCS. Is when you're holding short of the runway, you're going to have ground crewmen who come out and pull all the armament pins on your jet. They're going to pull the safety pins from your bombs, your missiles, and your gun, as well as they're going to pull the safety pins from your landing gear. They're then going to hold up those pins to show you they have them all, so that way you know your jet is armed up and good to go. When they do that, and they're running around your jet playing with your weapons, you're going to want to hold your hands up and touch the canopy rail so that way they can see you're not accidentally having your finger on the trigger. Now,
Gotcha.
what's important about that when it comes to DCS, in terms of flying realistically, is the way our external fuel tanks feed to their fuel to our fuel system is we use bleed air from our engines, which is essentially compressed air from the compressor section of our engines, to pressurize those tanks to make them feed their fuel. On the ground, when you have guys running around the jet like that, you don't want to have those tanks pressurized. So, as part of the pre-takeoff checks in the F4, we start to pressurize our external fuel tanks. And that is going to be that little triangle-shaped switch that's after the throttle. We're going to usually bring those to the center position first. So that's going to be the inboard center external transfer position. We always want to feed off of the center position in the F4 first, because we want to drain that tank down as much as we can, so that way we can jettison it if we were to get into a situation where we have to fight MiGs, because our aft two Sparrows, they won't launch if we have that centerline tank on our aircraft. Next.
I learned that one the hard way.
Yep. Yep, that'll get you killed for sure. Next, we want to switch over our taxi light over to our landing light.
Well, hang on. External lights.
Yep. That's going to be just to the left of the Jettison button. That one right there. You got it. Then, once you've got that, moving over to the right-hand side of the cockpit, we want to turn our pitot heat on. Pitot heat is going to be, right there. You got it. Now, it's important to remember that for these pre-takeoff checks, the pitot heat, you have a 3-minute essentially timer before the pitot static system gets overheated by the pitot heat. So if you're getting ready to take off and you realize, oh geez, a big old flight of Hornets is about to land in front of me, go ahead and turn the pitot heat back off, and then turn it back on once you know you're going to take the runway for takeoff. Make sense?
That makes perfect sense, yes.
Perfect. Otherwise, you'll break your ability to see your airspeed. So now we will have changed our radios over to the tower controller, and now what we want is we're ready for takeoff, and where we are is holding short runway 31. So let's see if you can make the radio call here.
I've got to remember the phone. 1 second, hang on.
No problem. I'm going to turn my pitot heat off for now, just so that way we don't burn anything up.
Salty Shah 1, flight of 2 F-4Es, holding short runway 31.
And what do we want?
Waiting for permission to enter the runway and take off.
Exactly. I would just shorten that to ready for takeoff, and you'd be good to go.
Okay. Fine. Yeah.
Yeah, ready takeoff, ready departure, whatever you want.
Yep.
Shawan Tower, good morning. Windscom, QNH 2992. On takeoff, fly, runway heading, clear takeoff runway 31.
All right. And then you just read back those same instructions. Runway heading, clear for takeoff, 3-1.
I couldn't actually hear them, so I do apologize.
No problem. So all he said was, Shaw 1, you're clear for takeoff, runway 31, fly runway heading. And all you got to do is just read those instructions right back.
Salty Tower, Shaw 1, cleared to runway, takeoff. Oh, I do apologize.
So all good, man. You're all good.
No, it's all right. So what should it be? It should be
Shaw 1,
Salty
cleared
1.
Yes, Salty Tower, Shaw 1. Clear for
Salty
takeoff,
Tower,
runway 3-1.
Clear for takeoff, runway 3-1.
Yep. Fly runway heading.
Fly runway heading.
Yep. So basically, we're gonna take off, and we're gonna continue on straight out on the same heading the runway's pointed at, which will be 310 degrees on the heading. Make sense?
Okay. That makes perfect sense.
Perfect. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll do a staggered takeoff. So just line up on the very middle of the runway here. You're gonna push the throttles up, take off at your leisure, because the runway is ours now. I'm gonna wait 5 seconds, and then I'm gonna take off behind you, and I will form up on you. Sound good?
Fine, yeah.
Awesome, let's do it. And I'm going to turn my pitot heat back on now because I know that we're about to take off. Now, as I'm entering the runway, I'm always checking to make sure final's clear, make sure the runway is clear, because controllers do make mistakes too, and we don't want to get hit by another aircraft.
We good?
Yep, you're good to go.
Throttling up. Rolling.
Roger.
Burners.
Who's rolling?
Engine's good, airspeed off the peg.
Rotate.
80 knots. Airspeed 100.
Gear up.
Nice job.
That's that.
We've got nails. 1 o'clock. Gears
And
moving.
make sure you suck up those flaps as well.
Flaps up.
Flaps up.
Beautiful.
Gear up.
All right, we always know the lesson's going well and my student doesn't crash on takeoff. And we'll fly runway heading here until we get our frequency change from the tower over to the departure controller. And we'll fly 350 indicated for now.
One flight, contact Salty departure 127.5.
Cool. So we'll pause it here so we can talk without you having to worry about flying the jet too.
Okay.
If only I had a pause button with real students in real life. So basically, once you come off the ground and you're flying that initial clearance, which was runway heading for us, we didn't have an altitude restriction, so climb, to whatever altitude you want. The tower controller is going to say to switch us over to the departure controller. In this case, he said, Shaw 1, switch salty departure, what do you say, like 126.1 or something?
Yeah, well, I made up a random frequency. Okay.
Yeah, that's all good, doesn't matter.
Yes.
At which point, the leader would reach down, switch his radio over, tell his wingmen to switch over to that frequency as well. And then you would check in with the departure controller. You would say something to the effect of salty departure, Shaw 1, flight of 2 F4s at 5,000 feet, runway heading. You basically just tell the next controller what the previous controller has told you to do and where you currently are at. Does that make sense?
That makes sense, yes.
Perfect. Okay, so if you're ready, or why don't we just keep it paused and you can try making that radio call while we're paused here.
Salty Tower, Shah 1, flight of 2 F4s, altitude 6,000 feet, heading 310.
Super close. It's salty departure now.
Oh, salty departure, apologies, yeah.
Yep, all good.
So it's all good. Okay.
Yep, no problem. So basically at this point, then the departure controller, I'm putting words in unsigned Void's mouth here, he's going to say something to the effect of Roger Shaw 1, radar contact, and then he's going to give us a new clearance. In most cases, it's going to be, in DCS here anyway, it's going to be own nav, which is just navigate on your own wherever you need to go. Does that make sense?
That makes sense, yes.
Perfect. All right. So, we'll unpause here, and Unsigned is going to make his next radio call, and I will attempt to join up into formation for you, or with you. Let's hold 350 indicated, and we'll climb up to 15,000. Sound good?
Perfect, yeah.
Alrighty, here we go. In 3, 2, 1.
Shaw 1, salty departure, radar contact 2, good tracks, cleared to own now.
And you'll just read back to him, Roger, salty departure, Shaw 1's own nav.
Roger, salty departure, Shah 1, own nav.
Perfect. At that point, we're released from ATC control. He's just going to keep an eye on us on the radar until it's time to switch over to the tactical frequency.
Zero tac rig, usually like 305. Every group has their own different tac rigs. I can never remember which ones to use.
It's usually 305. I just started doing that when I first started doing missions, just because that's like the default DCS frequency is 305.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think a lot of squadrons use like 323 for some reason.
I've seen 251 a lot because that's the
Got
default
good steering
AWACS
to
rig,
the
and
next
then I
turn
see
point.
like 254, 264.
Gotcha. Okay, Oak, what are the 4 different kinds of airspeeds that a aircraft can tell you?
Oh, you got this, man. I believe.
I guess ground speed?
Yep.
I don't know. Sorry.
No worries, no worries. I wasn't trying to trip you up. I was just
No, you're just
test you
asking.
there.
Yeah.
Cool. So basically, the most important one is indicated airspeed, and that's of course going to be on the inside of your airspeed dial in the F4, just to the left of the ADI. And I'm right about just under 350 knots of indicated airspeed. So indicated airspeed is going to be the air molecules coming into the pitot tube on the nose of your jet, smashing themselves into a flexible diaphragm, and then however much that diaphragm flexes is then converted into your airspeed. So the more air molecules that hit that diaphragm, the more it flexes, and the higher your airspeed is. But as we climb up in altitude, there's fewer and fewer air molecules to smash into that diaphragm and then tell us our airspeed. So as a result of that, our indicated airspeed degrades at a rate of 2% per 1,000 feet of altitude climbed. So in order to compensate for that, the F4 has a little air data computer that's smart enough to compensate for that and tell us our true airspeed, which is in a dial that's a little bit hard to see. It's just to the left of the heads-up display where it says gun in blue for you, and it says true airspeed in knots, about 405 for me. You see that, guy? Or
Yeah,
it's just
it's
to the left.
back,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's tucked way back there, so you kind of have to move your head around to see it.
Yeah, I can see it, yeah.
Yeah, so true airspeed is basically how fast the actual air molecules are flowing over your aircraft. And we can see here that at roughly about 16,000 feet or so, that's almost a 50 knot difference that you can see there. Ground speed is going to be your true airspeed, and then plus or minus a headwind or a tailwind. So that's how fast you're actually flying over the ground. Your Wizzo in the backseat can see a readout of your ground speed, and you can ask Jester for your ground speed as a result. You use your ground speed for things like navigational calculations of how long it's going to take me to get from point A to point B. Then, as we climb up in altitude, ATC eventually, roughly at the transition altitude, about 18,000 feet, will then start to give you instructions for airspeed. Instead of an indicated airspeed, he's going to start giving you Mach numbers. Mach is, of course, the outer ring of the airspeed dial in the F4, and that's going to be your ratio of your speed to the speed of sound. Make sense?
That makes sense, yes.
Perfect. So you'll hear, and a lot of times if you start listening to live ATC, you'll hear jet pilots, military or civilian, be told airspeeds in Mach as opposed to indicated airspeed when they're up high, when indicated airspeed is less reliable as to how fast you're actually going. However, the only caveat to that is if you have airspeed limitations on your aircraft, such as flap extension speeds, gear extension speeds, things of that nature, that's always going to be predicated on indicated airspeed at no matter what altitude you're at. So if for whatever reason you're battle damaged and we're up at 25,000 feet together, and I want you to do a gear extension and retraction test, I would have you slow down to below 250 knots indicated in order to do that test so we don't rip the gear off. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Perfect. Yes.
Cool. So we'll hold 350 indicated at 15,000 feet, and I will try to get back into formation with you.
Okay.
Okay, unpause in 3, 2, 1. Here we go. If I'm flooding you with info, just let me know and I can pull it back.
Okay.
I know it's a fire hose. Just try to hold on to whatever you can.
New bogey, left 15, 1 mile, 14,500.
Jester found you on radar.
Friendly target, getting IFF returns.
Okay, so basically, let's go ahead and fly to what waypoint are we currently heading to? Stand by. Navigation. Go to.
You got it.
Do you want to go to the Calcala
Next
range?
point is updated.
We're gonna go for the Damascus International range. So,
Sure.
Oak, have you used Jester for navigation before?
No.
Okay, no problem. So, do you have the Jester menu bound?
Yep.
Perfect. So go ahead and open up that menu, and then using your mouse or with head control, go to navigation,
Okay.
and then go to /resume and select turn point 2. And then
Got it.
once you've got that on your HSI, which is the instrument just below your ADI, you're going to have a white arrow pointing to a heading of roughly 342 or so. We're going to want to make a nice turn to bring that arrow up to the top of your HSI. Beautiful. Looking good. And thank you for not cranking so hard that you run right into me. So basically the F4 can do anything and everything that your F-18 can. It just does it in a more analog, physical, round dial buttons and switches way.
I think it's why I like it so much.
I know, that's why I like it so much. It's more fun. So now we're headed towards waypoint 2. And basically in the back seat, Jester, or if you have a human Wizzo, they're basically keeping track of which waypoint you're flying towards. So that's basically shown to you in the front seat through the Jester menu, selecting which waypoint you want to fly to.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So now I'm saddled off of your right wing.
I see you.
A little parade formation here. Cool. So now that we are set and good to go, we're flying out towards the range here. Let's go ahead and set up our weapons for our engagement today. We'll set up our cockpit first, then we'll have Jester set up his cockpit. So on the armament switches, we want to bring the fuse to the nose and tail position for our bombs. So that's going to be the 3 o'clock position on that switch. Keep an eye on your airspeed here.
Sorry.
No problem. Once you've got the fusing switch set to nose and tail, we're going to select on our station selectors the gun, the left inner, and right inner pylons.
Gun, left, and right.
Below the station select buttons, we're then going to go to the delivery select, and we're going to bring it to the DT or dive toss position. Once you've got that set, for the weapons selector, we're going to bring it to the bombs position. And once we have the bombs position selected, we'll just go master arm on, and we'll know if we did everything right when we get 3 arm lights under the station select switches. Sweet. So the reason why your gun is not showing an arm light is because on your weapons selector for your air-to-air weapons, you currently have heat selected instead of gun. Not a big deal for what we're doing today, just wanted to let you know.
Well, 1 flight, salty departure, leaving my airspace. Contact Chalice on 305.
Cool. And then for flying or talking to the controller here, you just read that back to him. Contact Chalice on 305, SHA 1.
I'm awfully sorry, I can't hear the controller. All I've got my engine noise.
Okay. So one thing to do, especially in multiplayer, is to go to your audio options, and usually I bring down my DCS audio to about 60%, so that way I can make sure I can hear everyone. Another thing you can do...
Makes sense, yeah.
Another thing you can do is you can also go into Discord and turn up Unsigned's volume if you need to.
Yeah, my mic, I think, is a bit quiet by default, so apologies about that.
All good.
That's quite alright. I think if I turn the volume down...
Yeah, if you, go for if you go for the master volume up there, up top, that'll be what you want to change.
Another good one you can do in the bottom, that tick box on the bottom left, the top one, so top left of those tick boxes here in helmet. It's personal preference, but it'll muffle the audio like you're wearing a helmet.
Yep, that helps.
Okay,
too.
cool.
Another good audio option while we're there, not to flood you with even more info, is I always like the louder afterburner effect, so that way you can always tell and hear when you're in afterburner, so that way you don't accidentally waste gas, because it can be a little bit overwhelming. You're like, oh geez, I just realized I'm in stage 1 of afterburner for the last 15 minutes and now I'm out of gas. You know.
Yeah.
Cool. So
Okay.
now that we're there, we are good to continue. The next part here is a little bit confusing, is we need to tell Jester to put the drag coefficient of the Mark 82 bombs into our weapon release computer in the back seat. So we'll do that by hitting the B key on your keyboard to open up the bombing table.
I don't...
What's that?
Hang on. Let's see if I can...
Just check your airspeed, you're getting a little slow.
Oh, it's because I can't hear the engine.
Yep.
Right.
Yep, so basically it's just all about tweaking that audio so that way you can get to the right position that works for you.
I have a bit of a problem. I can't see the...
bombing table?
Just bombing table. No, I get a white strip. I don't get...
Oh, well that's not good. Try using your mouse to click on that white strip and then drag it further into your field of view, because you can drag it around your screen.
Will do.
You should be able to do that even while it's paused.
I can't, no.
Oh, that's weird. That's not good. Let's see here. So...
Are you in the VR or Chuck IR?
He's in VR.
You might need to adjust the heat blur UI resolution.
Oh, is that
okay.
potentially the issue?
Is that something?
It could be the fix, yes. I don't use VR, so I don't know, but I've heard problems about it. And also, hi Spud.
Hey there. How are you doing? What's
well
that?
enough, I just...
What's the echo?
I'm not sure who's echoing right now.
I think it's Oak.
It's a
Oh, yeah, it's probably... Okay. Well, anyway...
I can't remember where the VR resolution might be in the special settings, so you might need to leave to change them, but don't do that.
Yeah, we would have to have you exit the mission here, Oak. So what we'll do is we'll just continue on, and if your bombs whiff the target, that's fine. We'll just explain why later.
Okay.
The Mark 82's drag code is close enough to one. You're probably going to be okay.
Yeah, it's so close to default, it probably won't be a problem.
Yeah, it's very close to the default.
Okay, perfect.
But are you making a video?
I am recording. Yeah.
Okay, then try not to talk over you.
No, you're fine. All right. So, Oak, you ready for the unpause?
Ready.
Perfect. Here we go. In 3, 2, 1. So once the lesson is over, I'll hop back in an F4 and share my screen and show you what you need to do with the bombing table.
Thank you.
Copy.
Okay. And now, be careful with the airspeed going the other direction. You're running away from me here.
Yeah, sorry. It's all right, with the sound turned down, I don't hear it.
All good. Okay, so what we'll be doing today is we'll be bombing Damascus International Airport. So the last thing we want to do to set up for our dive toss attack is we want to bring our LCOS over to the A/G mode for air to ground. The way dive toss works is it's like an old-fashioned version of CCIP and CCRP in your F-18.
Yep.
Where we are going to lock the radar onto the ground near the target, and then the bombing computer is going to calculate where to drop the bomb in order to hit that point on the ground. So what that means is... Oh, check your airspeed again here. What that means is we are going to initiate a dive onto the ground, ideally between 20 and 40 degrees of dive. Obviously 30 is right in the middle there. And then we're going to use the gesture context button to command our Wizzo to lock the ground return. Once he has the ground return locked, you're going to see the range bar pop up in the LCOS. Once you see the range bar pop up, you then want to put the pipper of the gun sight right on the point that you want the weapon to hit. At that point, you then press and hold the bomb release button and initiate a smooth pullout away from the target, holding that weapon release button the whole time. Cool. Okay, we're just hit waypoint 2. We're flying up to waypoint 3 now, so that's perfect. So we'll come off to the right here. When you press and hold the weapon release button, you're going to hear a high-pitched tone in your headset. And that tone is basically letting you know that you're authorizing the aircraft to drop the weapon when it feels is the best time to drop. That make sense?
That makes sense.
Perfect. What we'll do here to make our weapon impacts a little bit more visible is we'll drop 2 bombs with every press of the weapon release button. So on the WRCS, we'll select a quantity of 2. And that'll give us 3 attempts to get the drop correct.
Right, I've got 2 selected, huh?
Beautiful. Me too. All right. Have you looked into how the fuel system of the F4 feeds yet?
No, I haven't, I'm afraid.
Okay, no problem. So I'm going to pause it here. If you look over on your caution and advisory stack, just below or just in front of your TACAN control panel, do you have a green light that says center external fuel?
I do.
Perfect. So what that green light means is that your center tank, where we have that external feed switch set to, at this moment is not feeding your internal tanks. In the F4, we can only see on our fuel gauge how much fuel we have in our internal tanks. We cannot see how much is in our external tanks, which is kind of a bit of a bummer, but it is what it is. When that green light is illuminated, we are not feeding from that centerline tank. The same is true. The same is true if we were to have the outboard wing station selected. There would be 2 green lights for outboard wing station fuel. And basically, when the F4 drains down some of its internal fuel, it's then going to wait until you're flying relatively straight and level to replenish that fuel from the external tanks. So right now, as we're flying straight and level, you should have a fuel level somewhere in the neighborhood between 11,000 and 12,000 pounds on your internal fuel gauge. Do you see that?
I do. Yeah, 1177.
Perfect. So once you get down to more like 10,000 pounds or so, and you're flying straight and level, your jet's going to suck up a bunch of fuel from that internal tank to top itself off. Your green light's going to come back on to let you know that it's done feeding from that. So you kind of have to do a little bit of guesswork to know when your external tanks are dry or not. There's not really a great way to tell if you have fuel in those external tanks. Now, sometimes what you can do to kind of, if you see you're down at around 10,000 pounds and you think there's fuel left in those tanks, is to fly straight and level a little bit, and sometimes even kick the rudder around a little bit to kind of get your jet to fishtail a little bit, and that can kind of force it to feed a little. If after a while you see it's not feeding at all, and you're still draining fuel from your internal tanks, and you see that number ticking down, then you know, yep, that tank's dry, I can pickle it off, no problem, or I'll bring it to the tanker and fill it up again. Make sense?
Yes.
Perfect. It's kind of a weird system, and it's definitely not nearly as modern as our modern jets here, but it is what it is. Cool. So we'll continue on here, and we'll hit our next waypoint. That'll bring us back around to Damascus International Airport, and we'll set up for our weapon release on the airport there. So, we'll on pause in 3, 2, 1. And let's go ahead and climb up to 18,000 feet, give us a little bit more room for our dive. Alright, just keep an eye on your afterburner usage there.
I didn't even know I was in.
All good. The one thing to kind of develop here, especially flying the F4, is going to be what's called an instrument scan. Is where I want your eyes to always be going in a circle. From your airspeed indicator, to your altitude indicator, to your HSI, back around to your airspeed indicator, back to your altimeter, back to your HSI, and just keep your eyes going in that circle. And that's going to really help you maintain your altitude and your airspeed. You never want to concentrate too hard on one instrument to the detriment of others.
Got you.
Now, of course, now we're also flying in combat, so you also have to keep your eyes outside the cockpit and make sure that we're not going to get shot by anything. All right. Questions, concerns so far?
Just keeping scanning my
Okay,
cons.
turn point is updated.
Okay, now we're flying to a new waypoint. We'll hit this next waypoint, and then we'll turn back around and hit Damascus International.
Right.
Looking really good. I like it. Great job holding your altitude. That's awesome. At this point, my centerline tank's no longer feeding. I'm getting down to about 10,000 pounds. I'm just going to use my rudders to fishtail the jet a little bit and see if I can get that centerline tank to feed any residual gas. And nope, didn't work for me. So it looks like my centerline tank is dry, to be expected about now. So I'm going to take that external transfer switch, and I'm going to put it to the wing position. That's going to be that outboard position. And I'm going to start feeding from my wing tanks. And yep, there she goes. Now I'm back up to 11,000 pounds.
Yep.
In the F4, when you're doing fence checks and your leader of your flight asks you how much fuel you have left, basically you'd say, like, 12,000 plus 2 bags. Because we know that 1 bag is dry.
Makes sense.
That'll give your leader a good idea of how much gas you've got left.
Know what that means now?
Yep. For fence checks, that's going to be basically a whole litany of tests that you're going to want to perform to make sure that you have your jet set up and ready to go for combat. Fence is an acronym. We've got F for fuel. We want to make sure we've got enough fuel to be able to fight. E for ECM. Make sure if we have ECM systems on our aircraft, those are set and ready to go. N for navigation. That we have the correct TACAN station and the correct waypoint set to fight. B for countermeasures. Make sure that our chaff and flare dispensers are ready to go. And E for employment. Make sure our master arm switch is armed and our weapons are set and ready to go. Just to throw a little bit more stuff at you.
No, throw away, that's fine.
Cool. We're getting close to our next waypoint, and we're going to come around to the right-hand side, so I'm going to slide under you and get on your left wing.
Gotcha.
And at this point, I'm also going to slide out to more of a combat spread. Coming up on 4 miles to our waypoint. Jester's going to switch over your waypoint automatically to our target point.
Understood.
Alrighty, steering to next turn point is in.
Alright, there it is. Let's start making that turn. And we'll also start speeding the jet up to about 400 indicated.
Okay, 400 indicated.
Yep, a little bit more of a tactical airspeed to give us a little bit more energy to dodge SAMs, MiGs, things like that.
Okay.
And just keep an eye on that altitude in the turn. Okay. Have you seen any of my videos about Roland maneuvers?
No,
Okay.
not rolling maneuvers.
So, instead of just flying directly at our target and then pushing the nose down with negative G's to get our nose on the target to drop our bombs, ideally we want to fly offset to the left or the right-hand side to initiate a Roland maneuver. Couple reasons for doing this is if we fly directly at our target, we won't be able to see it, right?
Gotcha, yeah.
As well as this will help us throw off the aim of any AAA gunners in our attack run. Our jet is stressed more for positive Gs, as well as our body. And we won't be in danger of potentially hitting our own bomb once they come off of the aircraft.
That's a fair point, yeah.
Always important. So it looks like our navigation's a little bit messed up here. So let me double check on the waypoint. Yeah, so let's tell Jester to navigate to waypoint 5.
You got it.
Okay.
And we're going to make a left-hand
steering to
turn.
next turn point is in.
There we go. And wait for a little bit of a tack turn here. Perfect. Almost. Okay, do you see the little airfield out on our nose with the fires on it?
Yes, got it.
Perfect. Just for the sake of making things easy today, I want you to drop your bombs on the fire to make it nice, easy, visible target. Now I want you to place that fire that you want to drop your bombs on the left-hand side of your cockpit, right up against the left-hand canopy rail. Now, once that fire touches the canopy bow from your perspective sitting in the cockpit, you're going to roll almost inverted, pull your nose down to that fire, that target, then roll back wings level, get your pipper on the target, press the gesture context button so that way he locks the ground, keep the pipper on your target, press and hold the bomb release button, and start a gentle, smooth pull out from your target. That's easy as that, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my jet into an autopilot holding pattern, and I'm going to watch your stream and help you out.
Okay.
All right. Looking really good. Level your wings for me a little bit. Perfect. I love it. Just going to be patient. And now roll. Center mirror to the fire. Keep rolling. Right there. Nose to the target. Pipper on the target. And then get your pipper on it. Press and hold the bomb release button. Smooth pull out.
Bombs away.
Beautiful. Love it. And holy cow, dude, you hit it perfectly. Nice job. That was beautiful. Okay, we got 2 more attempts to practice that.
Okay.
All right, so only thing I would say on that initial roll, just be a little bit more aggressive with the roll and the pull. And other than that, it was perfect.
Nice.
When you press that gesture context button, try to be a little bit more steady with your pipper on the target. The closer the radar lock is to our target, the more accurate our bombs are going to be. Although you were pretty darn accurate, so I don't know if that was beginner's luck or you're just that good. All right, let's see if I can match you. I'm going to go drop my bombs now.
No pressure.
Yeah, no pressure here. Watch me whiff. And then basically just fly back around to waypoint 5, our target point, and go ahead and keep dropping your bombs.
Okay, on it.
What I would do is give yourself a good, maybe 12 miles of separation from the target, so that way you can come back around and have a good run into the target. Alright, my switches are good. Things good. And rolling in.
And captured. We've got good steering to the next turn point.
Bombs away. And my bombs went long. Crap. Alright, you're looking good. Coming back around to the target.
just watch your AV usage. Don't want to burn too much gas.
Absolutely. Yeah, just like Unsigned said, just watch the afterburner use. Okay, this time I'm going to follow your bomb run in formation and see how it looks from the external view.
Okay.
We've got a friendly. 1 o'clock.
Am I good to attack from this direction, or do you want me to go right back to waypoint 5?
We never want to re-attack a target from the same direction.
Understood.
Because the gunners down there, with their flak guns, are waiting for you to come from that original direction. Look at that beautiful smoky F4 in that dive. I love it. Looks good. A little more aggressive this time. I like it. Nice. Looks great.
I think I was off target.
Well, it looked good. So
Captured.
Did it release?
did it not release?
No.
I didn't. Okay.
Didn't it release?
No worries. So basically, once you get that lock and you're pressing that bomb button down, you have to make sure you hold it down all the way until the weapons release.
Yeah. That was my mistake.
Yep, all good. You want to make sure you hear that nice high-pitched tone. That high-pitched tone means that you're authorizing the weapons to come off the jet. Well, my second bomb run following you there, I was a little more accurate, so at least I kind of redeemed myself.
Okay, coming around.
Perfect. I'm coming through your 5 o'clock. Nice. Nice and aggressive. I like it. Back to wings level. Nice.
Come on.
Looks like the bombs didn't come off again.
No, they didn't come off again. Oh, I didn't get a tone.
Are you getting... I'll make sure to watch your stream this next time here. But did you get a lock onto the ground through Jester?
Yeah, he said Wilco, and
So...
pressed the button down. I didn't get any sound. I didn't get the tone, which I did get the first time.
Yeah, did you see the range bar in the LCOS?
Yeah, well, sorry, yes, I did, yes.
Okay, so what probably happened is you were maneuvering a little violently on that one, and so the WRCS probably didn't take the authorization. So on the next one, make sure that you're pretty, wings level in the dive. Get your pipper onto the target, press and hold that weapon release button, really mash on it, and hold it. Make sure you get that tone, then a smooth, gentle pull out. If you're too jerky with it, it will not authorize the weapon release.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the only thing that I would imagine would have gone wrong with that one. So let's make sure that we climb up to 18,000 feet again here, just to give you plenty of room to work with. Beautiful. That's looking good. And I'm just going to throw my jet back into autopilot here so I can watch you. Okay. Oops. What happened? What did I do?
Sorry?
Oh no, I've messed up Discord. You're all good. You're all good.
Oh, okay. Right.
All right, now I can see it. Okay, that's looking good. Good. Maybe just offset a little bit further to the right. Give yourself just a little bit more room. There you go. That's looking good. Good.
Okay.
Airspeed's looking good. Altitude's looking good.
Good.
We're a little bit squeezed into the target here, so let's start the roll-in now. Nice and gentle, but aggressive. There we go. Nose to the target. Roll back wings level. Before you press the gesture button. All right. Press the gesture button. Wings level. So we're just kind of swinging back and forth. That's okay. Gesture button. And go ahead and abort, pull off. So you just need to be a little bit more, get your nose onto that target, get the pipper onto the target a little earlier. You're just over-controlling the jet just a little bit, and that's why Jester's not able to get the lock on the ground for you. And also why you're not getting the authorization for release when you press the bomb button. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. This is why I needed help.
Yeah, no worries. So, and it's basically just going to come down to time and practice is all it is. All you're doing wrong is you're just over-controlling the jet, and that's totally normal for somebody who's new to a flight sim and new to the F4. Okay. What's your fuel state?
11.
Okay.
2 bags.
Beautiful. All right. Let's go with one more pass here before we start to head back to the barn for a landing. So on this one, just be nice and gentle. Don't worry about being more aggressive like I had said after your first run. Just nice and smooth, nice and gentle for this one.
Okay.
Looking good. Airspeed's a little low. Keep an eye on that. Looking good. So hold this heading here. This is a good heading. Maybe just a scooch back to the right. Hopefully the stupid cloud doesn't get in our way. I think you'll be able to see the target anyway.
It's a nice big bomb.
Yep. Little more of a scooch to the right for me. There you go. And let's start the rolling. LCOS onto the target. Nice and smooth, nice and easy. Roll back wings level. Gesture contacts button. Nothing. Okay.
He said it's all right, but yeah.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Oh, did you You're still there?
Oh, he didn't come up. I didn't
Okay.
get the
No worries. Basically, it's just going to come down to time and practice.
practice.
Would it be helpful to watch me demo one for you?
Yeah, it would actually.
Okay. So go ahead and climb up back to 18,000 feet, and we'll get your autopilot on and your altitude hold on, so that way we don't get you to crash. Okay, perfect. So we'll just hold this bank angle and start bringing that nose back on down. And go ahead and throw your AFCS switch on. It's going to be on the left console. Just aft of your SAS switches. Right there, there you go. And then the altitude hold switch as well. It's probably because you're climbing a bit too much and you're too slow. Give it a little bit more power. Bring the nose down. And cool. Now go ahead and give that a try.
No.
Nope. Huh. Okay.
No. No.
Okay. Not quite sure why that's not taken for you. If you want, what we can do is I can either demo it for you after we land, or we can just kind of switch over pretty quick and watch my stream.
Well, I'm not crashing, so.
Okay, go ahead and switch over to my stream here. And just let me know when you can see.
I got you.
Okay, perfect. So I'm a little bit past my target, no problem. So what I'll just do is I'll roll on in. And just very smooth, bring our nose right to our target. Roll wings level. Make sure we're nice and smoothed out. Pipper on the target. Gesture context. We got the lock. Press and hold the bomb button. Nice smooth pull out. Weapons away. Into a turn to throw off the AAA gunners and watch our bombs, because that's kind of cool. And boom. Just a little bit long. I always seem to miss a little bit long. Perfect. Alright, let's start heading back to the barn here, so make sure you get back to your cockpit. Hopefully we didn't crash you.
No.
Perfect.
Nope. Yeah, just a bit high.
Alright. So should be somewhere in the neighborhood of about 9,000 pounds of gas, which should be plenty to get back home.
Yeah, fraction under 10. Fraction under 10,000, so.
Perfect. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll start heading towards waypoint 6 at this point. Scratch that, waypoint 7 actually.
Okay.
And I will join back up with you.
Yes, sir. Steering updated to next turn point.
Have you done much in the way of landing practice in the F-4 yet?
A fair bit.
Okay. She's not the easiest jet to land, that's for sure.
Yeah, just don't remember not to use the brakes.
Yeah. Okay, now I've got a visual on you. So I'll join back up with you as you come around through the turn to waypoint 6. Sorry, waypoint 7, I mean.
0.7, yeah. I'm on waypoint 7, just under 300 at the moment.
Cool. Once we get back into formation, we'll talk about selective jettison of stores.
We have a friendly, 12 o'clock, 5 miles. Got a new bogey, left 5 degrees, 1 mile, 17,000.
Alright, so let's say
IFF is good, that's a friendly.
we got our bombs off of on our target, we've hit our target, and now it's time to fight our way back home. So the most likely point you're going to encounter MiGs is going to be on the way into the target and the way out from the target. So it's really important that we get our radar back to a search scan for air-to-air use as opposed to the dive toss bore sight mode. So to get the radar back to an air search mode, you want to take the weapon selector and rotate it 360 degrees. Perfect. And then once you've got that, we should be good to go. I'm going to bring my delivery selector back to the off position. And now let's go ahead and get rid of these hung bombs that we've got at this point. So what we'll do is we'll make sure we have left inner and right inner stations selected. Then
Right and left and selected.
perfect. Then the switch for selective jettison is going to be a black knob with a big red button in the center. We want to rotate that knob all the way to the 6 o'clock position. And it's a little bit hard to tell, but you can, if you just play with the knob a little bit, you can double check that it's definitely in the down 6 o'clock position.
I've got it in the down 6.
Perfect. And then once you're there, just make sure your master arm is set to arm and you can hit the jettison button. Beautiful, good separation. And wow, I feel a lot lighter now. So now, once, let's go ahead and level off at 22,000 here. No need to get any higher.
Oh, God, yeah. Sorry.
No problem. And we'll just cruise on back to the airfield. At some point, we're going to get to a point where we are going to feel safe enough back to friendly territory where we're going to fence out, where we'll do the opposite of the fence checks, and we will safe our jet up to make sure that we don't accidentally drop bombs, fire missiles, fire our gun around friendly territory. Alright, we are good on the speed. Typically, I like to usually hold on to my external fuel tanks in order to have a little bit of extra drag for landing the F4. I find that she's actually harder to land when you have not enough drag. But also some things to keep in mind when jettisoning external tanks is we don't have an unlimited supply of them, so we don't want to just drop them around willy-nilly. As well as if you're, say, on a really long mission, and if you're going to need to hit the tanker, you might want to be able to carry that extra gas to make it back home after hitting the tanker. So lots of things to think about when it comes to dropping those tanks. A lot of folks just think that, oh, if I'm going into combat, get rid of the tanks. And that's not necessarily always the case. Although it is funny and interesting to note that in Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia, a lot of the locals have turned external fuel tanks into canoes.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Most not want that.
Exactly. Especially if they're raining from the sky.
Step it off
Cool. Cool. How are you feeling? Feeling good?
Yeah, yeah. I feel like I have actually learned quite a bit.
Well, that's good. That's the point of the exercise.
And I'm starting to understand why it's a bit hit and miss for me on the weapons.
Yeah. It's basically the one thing that I would say is either you were hitting the wrong button to command gesture to lock the ground, or because you were being a little bit on the jerky side, he might have not been able to lock the ground. So what happens is, on the radar display, he sees the ground on the radar display, and he has to move the cursor onto the ground, then command the radar to lock the ground. So if you're being really jerky with how you're flying the jet and the ground is moving all over the place, your Wizzo might not be able to get the radar cursor onto the ground return to actually lock it. And so that's why it matters. Lots of stories I've read about that, with pilots learning to use dive toss and the Wizzo in the back being like, come on, dude, smooth that out. I can't lock the ground, dude. Okay, looks like we're about 50 miles out. So roughly about 50 miles away from your airfield is when you're going to want to start to think about descending. And usually by this point we will have switched off of the tactical frequency and back to the arrival frequency for the airport. So the arrival frequency is going to be the same as the departure frequency, but we'll call him arrival rather than departure. So to reach out to him once we've got the frequency change from the GCI AIC Taxi 2 controller on the tactical frequency, we'll say something to the effect of Muafak Salty, Shaw 1, flight of 2 F4s is roughly your 360 for 50 inbound for a landing, basically. Something to that effect.
Okay. Muafak Salty, Shah 1, flight of 2 F-4Es, inbound for landing on your 330, approximately 50 miles out.
One flight, Salty, arrival radar contact, 2 good tracks, continue present heading, descend, maintain 5,000. And would you guys like the straight in or right overhead?
Cool, so now you're going to read back his directions. You'll just say, maintaining heading, descending 5,000, Shaw 1, and then we'll discuss within our intra-flight frequency if we want the overhead or a straight in.
Salty arrival, Shah 1, maintain heading, descend 5,000, and we'll give us a moment and we'll get back to you on the approach.
Have you practiced overheads much in the F4?
Not really, no. You mean whether I go down the middle of the runway or off to one side? And
Yes, exactly. That's called an overhead pattern.
right, okay. I sort of do it not particularly when I'm trying to run an airfield for the first time. So.
Okay. So do you want to do that, or do you just want to do the straight in?
No, I'm happy to do the overhead.
Cool. So let the approach controller know that Shaw 1's requesting the overhead.
Salty arrival, Shah 1, requesting the overhead approach.
One flight, roger, expect the right overhead for runway 31.
Right overhead, runway 31. Thank you, Shah 1. Thank you, Salty.
Perfect. So basically what that means is we're going to be landing on runway 31, the same runway we took off on, and we're going to be making a right-hand brake. So once we fly over the runway, we're going to make a right-hand turn for that brake turn.
Okay.
The field elevation is going to be about 1,600 feet. So we're going to add 2,000 to that. So we're going to fly a pattern altitude of 3,500 feet. Or that's what we're going to plan for, unless the approach or tower controller give us a different pattern altitude.
Understood.
Yep, and most airfields going to be about a 300 to 350 knot brake speed. So if you can be somewhere in that window, that'd be perfect. I'm already lined up on your left-hand side, So I'll just make sure I get tight into a nice parade formation to make it look good, and then we'll execute the right brake.
Okay.
And if you get a helmet fire at any point here, let me know and we can pause it and we can talk about it.
Will do. So I'm descending to 5,000 per instructions, correct?
Yes, sir, and we're maintaining our present heading. So go ahead and disregard the waypoint. Now we're under control of the approach controller. So we're no longer own navigation, we're being told where to go now.
Gotcha.
It's kind of funny, fighter jets kind of fly in this weird in-between world between IFR and VFR flight. So you have to kind of realize at certain points you're more IFR rules, and at certain points you're more VFR rules. It's just something to kind of get used to.
It's not the technical term, it's VFR.
See you being like, whoa, where's that altitude? There it is. Oak had no idea what he was bargaining for, to have a giant peanut gallery watching him.
Oh, I had a rough idea what it would be like. So.
Are you recording this session?
Of course. I record everything I do in DCS, at least just to have B-roll laying around.
One flight field's roughly 10 miles off your 2 o'clock call field site.
So basically, I'll pause it to explain this one. This one's a little bit funky. Basically, the tower controller, he is showing you where the field is, and he's wanting to know if you can see the field or not. So that way he can clear you for what's called a visual approach, where we switch back essentially to own navigation. So that way we will basically line ourselves up onto the runway. Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense.
Cool. So if we look off of our 2 o'clock here, with DCS, sometimes you got to zoom in a little bit. I don't even see it yet.
No, I don't either.
Okay. So basically, at that point, if you don't see it, you just tell him field not in sight, and he'll just continue giving you vectors, and he'll probably be mad at you because now he's got a harder job to do, and he can't sit there eating his sandwich.
That's always for the better. That's always for the good.
Yeah. Here we go. In 3, 2, 1.
Moffat's salty. Shah 1, field not in sight.
Char flight copy, continue present heading, descend, maintain 3000.
And read that
Moffat.
instruction back to him. Yeah, you got it.
Oh, sorry. Moffat's salty. Shah 1, understood. Continue direction, descend 3000.
Love it. He's getting the hang of it.
Okay. That airfield's out
Shah.
there somewhere.
Shaw 1 flight, contact tower on something.
Cool. And you just tell him, Roger, Shaw 1's contacting tower.
Roger. Moffat's salty. Roger. Shah 1 contacting tower.
And then you check in with tower and be like, Shaw 1's on heading 180, descending 3000.
Moffat's salty. Shah 1. Flight of 2 Phantoms, heading 180, descending 3000 on approach.
Shaw 1 flight, tower, turn right, 290.
For salty Shah 1, turn right, 210.
290.
290.
290, right, apologies.
There's the field.
Man.
It's coming through our 2 o'clock now.
And Shaw 1 flight, report 3 miles.
And basically just read back 3 mile initial.
Wait. Shaw 1 Moffat Salty, 3 mile initial.
So basically what he's
Okay.
wanting us, what he's wanting us to do is basically be set up and ready to go at our field, our pattern altitude 3 miles before the end of the runway, at which point we would call 3 mile initial to the tower, so that way he knows he's got a flight of 2 Phantoms inbound for the overhead basically imminently. So that way he can make sure, the C-130 that landed before is off the runway and, all that kind of stuff, basically fitting in all the traffic that needs to get in there.
Okay.
If you still don't see the field, basically...
Got it.
Okay, perfect. So what's really
It's almost
confusing...
ahead.
Yeah, exactly. So what's really confusing about this airport is we have a runway 26 and we have a runway 31. 31 is the runway we need to land on, not runway 26. So we were sort of lined up on runway 26, but if we keep this turn coming, we're just going to get lined up right onto runway 31. Basically, the best way to check that is if you're lined up on a runway and your heading is not 310 degrees, then you know you're lined up on the incorrect runway. Make sense?
Gotcha. Yeah.
Perfect. All right, let's see if you can lead us in. I'll, of course, help out.
Moffat. Okay. Moffat Salty Shaw 1. 3 miles.
Shaw 1 flight, continue.
And just say Shaw 1's continuing.
Moffat Salty Shaw 1 continuing.
Cool. So basically, the runway that's kind of pointing off to our right, that's the one we're landing on.
Yeah.
So
I'm sort of-
kind of, get the geometry right to kind of then turn over the top of it,
Turn onto
basically.
it.
Yeah. So a 3 mile initial would have been a little bit further off to our left-hand side, but we'll make it work. It's all good. Tower's just like, dang, Phantom pilots always messing up my pattern.
Yeah, it's nice and chill. Only 2 Phantoms in the skies today. Tower's understaffed as fuck. Only got 1 person up here.
And go ahead and start the brake.
Brake right?
Yep, brake right.
If you're the first to brake, you usually want to brake in the numbers.
Yeah, we were not set up for that. And 2's in the brake. And go ahead and keep that turn coming on around. I know it's hard in the F4, but bring that nose on around to the reciprocal heading of the runway.
All right, got a new bogey. Right,
Make sure you
1
don't
mile.
lose too much altitude in
3,500.
that brake turn. We're going to want to get under VG and VFE, so get under 250
Positive
knots.
IFF return.
Drop the
target
gear,
engage
drop the
friendly.
flaps. Sweet, looking good. Well, I just oversped my gear and flaps. Whoops. Alright, and then once you have the runway threshold 45 degrees behind your cockpit, go ahead and start that base turn. And the F4, just keep that speed up a little bit and really bleed off
How's our
that
fuel
speed in the flare.
Okay, gear, flaps, pressure, warning lights, anti-skid.
From my vantage point, you're looking good. Keep that turn coming. And make sure now that you don't get lined up on the wrong runway. It's very easy at this airfield. Yeah, or the taxiway. Beautiful, looking really good.
Shaw 1, winds comp, check gear, cleared option 3 1.
and just say to him, Salty Tower, Shaw 1's clear to land, runway 31.
Salty Tower, Shaw 1, clear to land, runway 31.
Option just means that you can do a touch and go, a stop and go, or a full stop landing. Looking good, looking good. Not bad. Just a touch low. Very nice. A little more flare. Not bad. Nice job, dude. I almost crashed watching you land.
Brought to you, winds, comm, check gear, cleared option 3-1.
About 1-2's cleared for the option runway 3-1. And then as you're landing, if you got wingmen coming on behind you and you're starting to slow down on the runway, just ease your way off to the right-hand side of the runway. Oh boy, my landing's gonna be bad.
Sick rate.
Retard, retard. I know I'm a retard.
Long landing. Long landing.
Oh man, I hope the squad was watching you if and nailed that landing. Unlike the last one.
Right off the able, contact ground.
That is the first time I ever heard Gesture not talk shit about a landing.
It was a really smooth landing, it just wasn't very good directionally. Alright.
Moffat Salty Shaw 1 on taxiway.
So basically, as you're exiting the runway, you just want to make sure you check which taxiway you're exiting on via the signs, so that way they can help find you easily. Obviously, right now it's super easy for him because he's got 2 F4s in the pattern, but if it were a really busy day and he's got 4 F4s, 4 F14s, and 4 F18s, it could be a little more difficult for him. So I believe this is Juliet, taxiway Juliet.
Moffat Salty Shaw 1, exiting runway, taxiway Juliet.
Beautiful.
One flight, turn right on Alpha, taxi park, your discretion.
And make sure you read that back to him.
I was just collecting my thoughts. Moffat Salty Shaw 1, thank you. Turn right runway, taxiway Alpha.
And we'll head back to our original shelters for our shutdown. I always do that.
Enter soft shelters for shutdown.
I always do that with my in real life students. I'm always like, read it back, and he's like, I'm trying to use my thoughts.
Yeah, you immediately have that staggered moment where you have to try and compose it in your head.
Yep. Yeah. But it's better than holding down the push to talk button on the radio and trying to compose your thoughts as you're holding up the whole radio frequency. So you're doing good in that way.
I shall be practicing this.
Yeah, it's like I said, if you just listen to like live ATC, at some airfield or some airport in your car as you're driving, you'll get it super quick.
Or you can listen to it while you're falling asleep.
That does it too.
Yeah.
And then somebody gets a phone number and you jump out of bed freaking out. Awesome job, Oak. Seriously, really good job. I hope you learned a lot, and I hope I didn't cause too many helmet fires for you.
No, it was actually really what I was looking for. It's just because I've been trying for a little while, and this is really just to polish things off, just to learn how to do it properly. Because it stops it being just a bit of a jump in it, fire a few missiles, and land the plane, and it makes it.
Yeah, big thing I think with your dive toss delivery is really just smoothing things out will allow Jester to lock the ground a lot more efficiently, and that way you'll then be able to actually deliver the weapons. I'm like 99% sure that was your issue.
Yeah, I took some clips of the external views from the both of you, and I can show you Oak if you want afterwards. But it's a good job at highlighting
that'd be
your
good.
aircraft's like attitude compared to the ground on all your run-ins. Basically, what was happening was so you started your dive, and then when you go back to your wings level transition onto the target, you would overcorrect your initial roll, so you'd be like left of the target, and then you'd correct to the right, but you'd overcorrect and just put yourself into an oscillation of too much roll left, too much roll right, and not being wings level on the target.
Yeah, it's very common with older planes like this one, because you don't let the computer doing those corrections for you, so you tend to overcorrect and you forget the plane has momentum.
Yeah, exactly. And then one thing to also think about as well, and not to throw too much at you here, is in the dive, when you were making those turns, you were probably trying to pull back on the stick a little bit to drag your pipper onto the target, and that was making that oscillation worse. So if you just roll and put in the roll input without pulling back on the stick, and then just let the jet slide the pipper over to the target rather than trying to yank it over there, that'll also be super helpful.